Okay. Good afternoon, commissioners, executive staff, and any public that may be tuning in today. My name is Emily Carrollo. I'm the Black Bear Program Specialist for the Pennsylvania Game Commission, and today I will be covering two topics. I'm giving an update on the Black Bear status report, and in addition to that, I'll do a quick recap of our Black Bear management plan that has been provided to the final draft of the commissioners after the public comment period. So first and foremost, go over our bear license sales. For the fifth year in a row, we've sold over 200,000 licenses. That is pretty impressive. We've maintained relatively consistent numbers of the last several years. It's the fourth highest bear license sales ever. We did see a little bit of a decrease from last year, but I think in reality, this continuation of seeing these bear license sales hover over 200,000, that 200,000 mark, really denotes the popularity of the opportunity that we're offering for bear hunters, and especially when we run these seasons, concurrently with other huntable species as well. Second, and I think what most people have asked questions about, and specifically I've gotten a lot of questions about, is our overall harvest this past season for 2023. So our overall harvest was a little more than 2,900 bears. This is the first time since 2007 that we've been under 3,000 bears. However, I would like to remind our staff and our commissioners that last year we did intentionally remove the extended season from 5 WMUs. The total harvest in those 5 WMUs is the lowest it's been since 2016, when the majority of those WMUs had the extended season offered. So the decrease that we saw in the total number of bears in those 5 WMUs does affect our statewide total. To give you a number, on average, from 2019 to 2022, we averaged 375 bears harvested during the extended season in those 5 WMUs. So I think this decrease is mostly explained by that removal of the extended season in those 5 particular WMUs. Obviously, there's many other things that affect a harvest season for any wildlife species, but most of it can be explained by the removal of those 5 WMUs. Our harvest distribution continues to be pretty evenly spread, but I think we're really starting to see that general season is maintaining the highest level of harvest for our out of all of our bear seasons. We're still seeing that a little bit of overlap between the extended, the muzzleloader and special firearms, and our archery seasons, but the general firearm season is super popular. Bear hunters love it, and we're seeing that continuation of where most of our bears are harvested is within that season in particular. So interestingly enough, our bear population did increase this year from 2022 after 3 years of declines. And I ran these numbers twice just to make sure I was getting everything right. But we did see an increase. Now, there is, again, just like harvest, a number of things that affect population estimates. A lower harvest and a lower harvest rate, which the rates I'll get to in the next slide, does affect our current population estimate. With that being said, as I mentioned, when we started to see these declines and there was some concern about these early seasons, we never base our management decisions and our recommendations off of one point. Clearly, we'll continue to monitor the population as we move forward, but long story short, we did see a bit of an increase from last year. So our harvest rate across all of our seasons was 16%, which is the lowest it's been since 2019. We did see a little bit of a decrease last year as well, not only in our overall harvest rate, but also our female harvest rate, which also may explain some level of an increase in our bear population from last year to this year. But for the most part, it's the lowest it's been since 2019. Again, that harvest rate correlates to our overall harvest. So to break this down a little bit more specifically, because I will be making a recommendation today, but I really wanted to try and focus on some specific seasons. And so what you're seeing up here is charts that explain the efficiency of a season. What do I mean by efficiency? So essentially, you can't compare season to season just by the total number of bears harvested, right? We know that some seasons are longer than others, some seasons are offered only in certain parts of the state. So we have to come up with a single variable that we can reasonably compare these seasons. Now, all of those lines aren't just random lines on a chart. They're based off of real harvest data and real tag data that we've been working with outside researchers to build essentially a new way of monitoring our population. And what this is showing is that for every unit of effort, which is on our x-axis, it's measured in hundreds of thousands of hunter days. It's a unit of hunter effort. You have a correlated ear tag harvest rate estimate. And so if you actually look at that blue line, which is on the top, on the left is females, on the right is males, you'll see that muzzleloader line is showing that the muzzleloader season is extremely efficient at harvesting bears overall, but more specifically is very efficient at harvesting females. And so you'll see for every 100,000 hunter days, the estimated harvest rate is around 10% of the female population. If you were to look at the archery season, for example, which is actually that kind of, it's purple. You can't really see it very well on the slide here, but it's right on towards the bottom on the left there. It's kind of lines up with our extended rifle. You have to get to almost 300,000 hunter days to reach that 10% harvest rate. And so essentially what this is telling us is muzzleloader is extremely efficient in comparison, especially to other seasons. And it makes sense in some ways if we think about, for example, the use of archery equipment versus a muzzleloader using a firearm, some of the tactics that are also used in muzzleloader like drives, which we know are more effective at harvesting bears than just stand or still hunting. And so what my recommendation is going to be for this year, based on not just this data, our new methods of kind of monitoring the population, creating these harvest rates and estimated harvest rates, et cetera, but using our long-term population, harvest total and harvest rate trends, right? We've been doing this as an agency for years, using this research that we started in 2019 specifically to understand the effects of these early seasons, which included this new modeling effort, plus a specific study on the Sproul State Forest that was looking at adult female harvest vulnerability and survival. And in this point, I mentioned archery, but the reason why I mention it is adult female daily survivorship was highest during the archery season. When I say archery season, I mean specifically the week and or 2 weeks, right? Because we added a week back in 2020. The week or 2 weeks that it is solely archery, not the week that it overlaps and is concurrent with these other seasons, daily survivorship for females was highest. That is what we just also saw in the last slide, is that archery was just less efficient at harvesting adult females in particular, but bears overall. And also, this is not a hit on archers, just to make sure no one takes offense to that. I'm sure there's plenty of great archers out there. But the differences between these seasons, right, with the efficiency, our long-term population monitoring and harvest monitoring, and then kind of backing this modeling with real-time data in that Sproul State Forest study, my recommendation is going to be to decrease the statewide muzzleloader opportunity. And specifically, I'm making this recommendation because we want to make sure that our harvest seasons for any species are sustainable, that we can maintain them. And when you look at, for example, hunter effort, we don't have as much control unless we were to change certain things about the bear program that I don't think anybody really wants to change. Like, for example, establishing something like a quota on licenses. We can't control how much effort and participation is done during the bear season. But what we can control is how many days are offered for bear hunters to participate on. So essentially, to make this change as easy as possible, my recommendation is to run the muzzleloader season concurrently with the special firearm season. So we still have a weekend opportunity. We have a Saturday opportunity for the muzzleloader season. And in addition to that, it's aligned with dates that hunters have already been seeing for the last several years to avoid as much confusion as possible. And the stars or asterisks on the side of those dates over there denote when there is a Sunday hunting opportunity during those particular seasons. So last but not least, I just wanted to give a quick update of our black bear management plan and the final draft that it's presented to the commissioners this weekend. The main updates that we received a total of 10 comments from the public. We updated Pennsylvania habitat and landscape descriptions to be more up to date with the information we have today. We increased information about the importance of monitoring the adult female harvest and populations. We increased clarity on some figures that some comments noted that were a little confusing. We want to make sure that the data we're providing in this plan is, understandable to the general public so they know what we're presenting. We also added a new appendix that basically reviews the accomplishments of our last bear management plan. And, that helps us be held accountable by the public to say, this is what we were able to accomplish. These are the things that we roll over into the next plan that we will continue to roll over. For example, continued monitoring of the population. And, also things that maybe we still need to work on and are looking to help continue from the last plan as well. And last but not least, We do have a new front page cover. This is a painting done by one of our very own biologists, Erica Coover. I'm super excited because obviously it has some blackberries on there, one of my favorite species, and also some of my favorite flowers, which are mountain laurel. So with that, I will take any questions that you may have.